Josh Crisp is the owner of the fastest growing IMO in the country. In our interview, we talked about how the insurance game has changed since COVID. We also talked about how 70% of people at their jobs are mentally checked out, and how you can get started with the right mindset on your passion. That way you are not part of that just mind-boggling statistic. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast.
You are the owner of Crisp Financial Group. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so basically, I've been in the insurance industry, financial services industry for 14 years, and Crisp Financial Group was born basically from me learning really what was out there when it comes to insurance. So I started as a captive agent, right? So there's difference between a captive agency and then there's a broker. So when you're captive, think of it kind of like a State Farm or an Allstate, where you're limited to one product. So you're more focused, it's more like corporate, where you have one product, one company, one focus, and you're very limited, but it's very structured, very systematic, which is awesome. You know, when I got started into insurance, I was 20 years old. I always tell people I was broke, busted, disgusted. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was a college dropout trying to find my way, and I just knew that I didn't want to be like the rest of my family and living paycheck to paycheck. I wanted to make a name for myself and provide for my family and not have to worry about how I was going to pay my bills. So it was a great way for me to really make a name for myself and change that trajectory. So going from captive agency, learning that, to becoming a broker is really where I got to excel. And that's really where I got to find myself and learning more about the insurance industry as a whole, and not just being limited on one product and one company. I got to actually truly help individuals by using companies that people have actually heard of before, that are household names like Mutual of Omaha, John Hancock, Transamerica, like companies that people can stand behind, and they're not having to wonder like, hey, is this legit? Is this company even going to be there for my family when we need them the most? The brand sells itself, right? But then more importantly, it's competitive when it comes to pricing and the type of products that they offer. So therefore, I was able to create my own agency. And in doing so, it kind of changed the focus of what I really wanted to do, which was not necessarily do sales forever, but help change other people's lives and put them in a position where I was at one time, which was a broke, busted, and disgusted college dropout, to be able to help other people kind of walk that same life that I had, to be able to have things that they've only dreamed of before, because that's really what was important to me. Because eventually you get to a point in your career where money becomes like the byproduct of what you're doing. As long as you're helping people and you're leading from the front, from the right place, you're put in a position where if you help as many people and you do the right thing, good things will happen naturally anyway. So helping more people succeed was always like a dream of mine. And I'm just fortunate to be able to put my name on the door, or in this day and age, you know, on a Zoom, right? Because everything's virtual and we're 100% through Zoom and telesales and remote. But it's really designed to just allow people to have their own identity, right? So whether it be me or the next person in line to step up and create their own agency, you have to be proud of what you stand for and let people know what it is that you do. And that's where Crisp Financial Group came into play, is because one, I'm proud of the last name that I carry, but also it's financial services. People need to know what it is that we do, but more importantly, we're dealing with life insurance. We're dealing with something that people don't necessarily want to talk about, but it's important. Like, think about when people buy a home, they refinance, they take out a home equity line of credit, and it's 200, 300, 400, 500,000 or more. That's a big loan. That's a huge asset that people have now. They need to protect that, because what happens when the breadwinner passes away and then their family is left with that huge bill? How are they going to afford to stay in that home? A lot of times people leave the home, the bank comes, takes it, they file for bankruptcy or foreclosure, and they lose everything because they don't think ahead. But we're a company where we stand behind making sure that the family can stay in the home, they're protected, and they can continue living that normal lifestyle that they had, even when a loved one dies or when something tragically happens, knowing that they're going to be okay financially. And that's important that people don't like to talk about, but it's reality. It can happen at any given time.
Yeah, that's the thing that you hear too much about is the breadwinner dies, passes away, and the whole family just falls apart and they lose everything financially. Like one case that I can think of is Grant Cardone. He talks about when he was a kid, I think he was like 10, his dad passed away and his mom didn't know how to handle the house and everything. So they had to downsize and pretty much lost everything. So yeah, you hear that way too much. So I think that's very important that that's what you're focusing on. So what kind of strategies are you doing to try to make sure that the family can stay in the home and keep all the assets and everything if the breadwinner passes?
Yeah. So one thing with our company is we're very innovative, right? So we're not like what the industry used to be like. I've been doing this for 14 years. So the way it used to be is not the way it is now. It used to be more of like a belly to belly, face to face model where we'd book an appointment, drive all over the state, multiple states, hop in an airplane and go out and see people at their kitchen table. Those times have changed. And you can thank COVID for that because it's flipped the industry upside down in a good way, where it's 100% virtual and digital, where we basically reach out to brand new homeowners, people that refinance, and we send them a postcard letting them know that they have access to mortgage protection. So we get to them first. So right when somebody purchases a home, we want them to start thinking about like, hey, yeah, you just purchased a home, but let's protect that loan. So then we're going to let them know that we're going to have a representative contact them to set up a phone call. Like we're not going to try to take a ton of time away from them because we're busy. We're all busy. We have things going on. We don't want to have somebody think that we're going to set up an appointment, come out and see them, spend an hour and a half to 2 hours of their time. We're just going to have a quick 10 to 15-minute phone call, educate them on how it works, and it's up to them to decide if it makes sense for them or not. So people feel relaxed and laid back by the approach that we take, but they feel also very educated by the approach that we take by realizing like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. I can't believe nobody's even talking about this. I didn't know that something like this even was out there because I wish that, my uncle, he lost his wife, or my aunt lost her husband, and they didn't have this and they lost their house. And then you hear these stories all the time of situations happening and people didn't have this. And they're just so thankful that we even had this conversation. So what makes us different than a lot of other people is we do it statewide in multiple states. So we're not condensed to just one territory or one county. We help people all across the country from the comfort of our own home. So back in the day when we used to do this, it was very saturated, very limited. And you could only see so many people in a day because you can only drive so many miles in a day for each individual. Now, doing it by phone, you can have 10 to 15 appointments a day because you're not having to worry about getting in your car and driving from one appointment to the next. You're putting yourself in a position to be more efficient, more effective, and help more and more families and educate them on what's possible and what's out there to protect them, their loved ones, and those to come.
Yeah, so I think you kind of already answered it, but are you doing this 100% like remote work, or do you guys have an office, or is it all remote?
It's 100% remote. I shut my office down about a year ago because it didn't make sense. Like, you have an office and you're the only one that shows up and nobody's there. What's the point of having an office? Just like you and I are on a Zoom call, it's the same way that our business operates. And like, there's two parts to our business, right? Like, I'm on the building the business side, but also still the sales side. I get in the trenches just like anybody else because I believe it's important to lead from the front. But when we're in the business growing side of it, like all of our agents are on Zoom. We do live dial sessions so people can actually come on and listen to other agents book appointments in real time and see what they're doing, handle the objections, handle the rebuttals, and see what everybody goes through. And then on the flip side, when we're running appointments and giving presentations, that's on Zoom and people can see that in real time, because there's no better way to learn this business than see it in action, right? So like, it's one thing to tell people about something, is another thing to show people, right? So that's the business side of things on how we do it. And that's all virtual, 100% remote. And we use Zoom as a platform with breakout rooms and strategy sessions where it's hands-on, because we want people to feel that we're there for them, because we don't expect somebody to come in and feel like they're on an island by themselves and they have to figure everything out on their own. We already have the blueprint. Come in, plug in, follow it step by step. It's proven. Just follow it, be a sponge, absorb it, and do what everybody else is doing that's having success. And you will have success as long as you put in the work, right? That's the business side of it. Now, on the sales side of it, it's 100% telesales. So as long as you have a cell phone and you have the ability to talk, you can have success here, because we're kind of eliminating the complicated side. So not everybody is tech savvy. I know it's 2024, but not everybody's tech savvy. Depending on what age they are, the generation, they're not always going to be able to get on Zoom or a video conferencing, Google Meets or FaceTime or whatever, because it's still a little complicated to them, or it creates no shows, or it creates just like people that are just not wanting to deal with the hassle. But somebody can pick up the phone and talk to you for 5 to 10 minutes. So it creates a much quicker turnaround, more show rates, more conversations, which is going to convert into more sales. So we have two elements to our business model. The sales side is 100% telesales. The business side is 100% virtual. So we marry the two together and we have a massive exploding business right now, because what do people want right now in the workforce? They want to work remote. They want to work from home. They want to work from anywhere in the country, but they want to be a part of an environment and a culture that they can thrive in and be around people. So another way we implement that is we do boot camps around the country where we'll get together like once a month, and then we'll go and we'll have dinner, and then we'll have like a cocktail hour, and then we'll do trainings, and then we're just rubbing elbows and shoulders together, because people still need that personal interaction. But for the most part, all the training is done virtually, just because that is what is changing the industry. And I feel like we're light years ahead of anybody else, which is why we're the fastest growing IMO in the country, because we're doing things different and we're getting ahead of everybody else, because where everybody else is kind of stopping, focusing on mortgage protection because interest rates are higher, not being able to get the leads and the resources, we found a way to adapt and change and focus on 100% telesales statewide and multiple state. It's actually allowing our business to soar.
So seeing all the success that you're having right now, which is great, congratulations. Love hearing that. Was there ever a point where you're like, crap, I can't do this? Like, what was your biggest failing moment?
Yeah, man. And I love this question because, as you can tell, I'm a very positive person. I have a lot of passion behind what I do and what I say, because I believe in positive energy. Like the minute that somebody's negative, it fills the room, right? So this question is very important because you have to have the real side of it too. It's not always glitz and glamour, rainbows and butterflies, or whatever they say. It's a bitch. It's tough. It's hard. It takes grit. It takes mental gratitude, and it takes like you to be mentally strong and fit to get through some of these things. I always tell people I quit this business 1,000 times. I just never told anybody. I quit it in my head. So there's several times that I wanted to throw in the towel. I just didn't. I just made adjustments and I moved. You know, kind of compare it to like real estate, right? So when you're in real estate, you have different brokers. Rather you have like Remax, Howard Hanna, Berkshire Hathaway, a real estate agent needs to find the right home and find the right vehicle. So they may hop from one brokerage to another before they find the right fit. So that's kind of what happened to me, except for in this industry, it's not a good thing to hop from one company to another often. You want to find a home and make it your home, right? But I've stayed places a little bit too long where it's hurt people around me, and it's always about other people, not necessarily about me, because I've just always been the kind of person that I'll always figure it out. I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And I'm more worried about those around me, and I care about their success more than mine, because I'll find a way, right? But it's more so, the hard part is it's a bipolar business, but you can't be bipolar. It's up, it's down. There's trials, there's tribulations. But at the end of the day, it's also sales. You have to have thick skin. You're going to get told no way more than you're going to be told yes. But those yeses make up for all those no's. So you have to take rejection. You have to accept that people are people. You have to accept that people are just going to be straight up assholes to you. You have to accept the fact that they may not be that way to you because they don't like you. It could be just that they're having a bad day. They could have had something bad happen in their life. Or they really are just an asshole. And that's just how they treat everybody. And you just have to deal with it and pretend that conversation didn't happen and move on. But also, we all want things fast. We all want things quick. We all see social media. We all see what other people have, and we want it overnight. So there's been times that I didn't grow as fast as I wanted to. I didn't have things as fast as I wanted to. And that's defeating, because you see somebody come in on social media and they claim that they hit the easy button. They have this magic sauce. They have this magic pill. They have this magic formula. They have this magic course. They have this magic system that they're going to get rich overnight. This get rich quick solution. And it's not real, because what they're not talking about is what did it take for them to get there to find that, if it's even real at all for what they did find, or it's just a facade to get people to believe that what they're doing is real, to get them to spend more money to buy into whatever fake sales pitch that they're giving, right? So like, there's so much things going on around us that sometimes it clouds us from like the real true focus and grind and grit, that we doubt ourselves because we're not moving as fast. But to really answer your question, like the real bottom barrel moment for me was when I did everything I possibly could. And then my agency within the last organization, the company I was a part of, was taken away from me because I couldn't control what I could control, because they controlled me. And when that was taken away from me and I had to come back to my wife, which, I recently got married 2 years ago. I have a 16-month-old daughter. And I had to tell her that, hey, things are going to be a little different now. Maybe we're going to have to cut back on our way of living life. We're not going to be able to do certain things. And I'm going to have to grind a little bit harder after we just built our dream house. And we just had this, vision of really changing the way that life was, to look at a bigger vision of how life was going to be and be like, hey, there's a chance that we could lose everything. That's when it's almost kind of like you hit rock bottom. You're like, hey, everything that we thought we are going to have, there's a chance that's all going to be gone because somebody else promised us something, got me to believe what we were going to have was just a carrot in front of my face that was just eventually taken away, and the rug was pulled under my feet just in a blink of an eye. And you have to be very careful in this industry by not being clouded or persuaded by big numbers and fancy cars and big houses, because a lot of times it's not real. And people might show those things and it's not theirs. They're renting Airbnbs, they're renting cars, and they don't have it. Like that was like the breaking moment for me to be like, you know what? I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go start over. I'm going to go bet on myself. I'm going to go build a massive agency off of relationships. I'm going to build it off of caring about people and making sure that people know that they're not a number, they're not a dollar sign. They're genuine people that I care about, and I truly want them to have success. And what's really happened is since that switch happened, I left my last organization last October, and I joined a new one in January to like rebuild. I've grown faster than I've ever grown, and I've done more than I've ever done. But I can't really say it's more of a we, because we're doing it as a team. And it's allowed other people to come in and have the same kind of success that I've had, because we have a plug and play model where now, when I thought I was getting ready to lose everything, I just bought my wife a brand new Cadillac Escalade. We're getting ready to put a brand new in-ground pool with an outdoor bar in our house. Like, these things wouldn't have been possible 6 months ago, 7 months ago, because of what was taken away from me, but because I believed in myself and I believed in the people around me. It's possible. You just can't be clouded by the things that people try to make you think is real when it's not, right? And I think, anybody that's in sales can attest to this. It's not always going to be good. It's not always going to be bad, but as long as you keep a level mindset, and you keep going, it'll always work out at the end.
You said something that is interesting. It's the industry is bipolar, but you can't be bipolar. And I think that's fantastic for any industry, really, because there's ups and downs in every single industry. And as long as you are just continuing to be on the right mindset with the right amount of just raw action, just work, 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 it's pretty hard to fail. And for the agency that you were working for to just rug pull you like that and take everything that you were planning away, it's like, that is the motivation that drives you. It's like the worst things fuel the best things to happen. So now you're having all this success, and you almost have to thank the agency that rug pulled you, because it's motivation, it's drive. It's like, oh crap, I'm gonna lose everything. And for humans have like an innate fear to just losing everything. Like, I think they did a study, and it's like people will fear losing things, and they'll work harder not to lose things than they will to work towards something. It's like, if you have a house and I come to you and I say, I'm going to take your house, you're going to work a hell of a lot harder than if you're living in a smaller house and I say, if you work really hard, you can get a bigger house. You'll work harder to not lose the thing. So I think it's great, honestly, that you got rug pulled, because now look at you. So doing great.
Yeah. And honestly, that is a blessing in disguise, is kind of how I look at it, because it strengthened my marriage. It strengthened my friendships. It made me a better person. I look at things differently because, as I mentioned, I've been in the industry for 14 years and I've had a tremendous amount of success. I've helped other people have success. And I truly feel like right now where I'm at is the best place I've ever been, where I can bring my closest friends and family into this business. Whereas in any other company, organization I've been a part of, I would have never done that, because I didn't feel good about the direction of the company, the morals, the values, the ethics. Whereas now I can confidently put my name behind the company. And that's truly where Crisp Financial Group comes into play, is I can put my stamp behind the company, knowing that all the values, the morals, and the ethics, I 100% stand behind.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Is I know it's a common conception in sales that a lot of people, when they go into a sales job, they love the company, and so they work super hard and they're great salesperson people, and then they get to know the company more, and they get to know the product more and the values of the company more, and they kind of lose their drive because they lose respect and alignment with those morals and those values. So then they just kind of become NPCs at their job. They're not working super hard. They're there, but they're not working super hard. So to have something where you can put your values into it and align yourself with the principles and values of your business is probably the most important thing over anything really.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost like what you're saying is those kind of people are just going with the motions. They're there, but they're not there. They're physically there. They're mentally not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's crazy. It's like the statistic now is like it's like 70 or 80% of people are checked out mentally at their jobs. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. Like you have to think of that from a business perspective. It's like 70 to 80% of your employees aren't even trying, really. They're mentally checked out, they're not trying. So that's detrimental to a company. But then you have to think of that from a person perspective too. And it's like, well, if you're in that position where you're just checking out at your job, well, more than likely you're spending at least 8 hours a day at your job. So what are you doing there if you have to mentally check out for 8 hours a day, a third of your life? Like, do something. Go get something where you feel checked in, align yourself with something.
Right.
That's crazy to me that people are just checking out. And that's just how they live. It's crazy. So when did you decide to get onto social media?
Well, I mean, I've been on social media for years. Never really been huge on social media. Like it's one of those things, right? Like I'm in like the mix between you got MySpace and then Facebook and then you got Instagram and then Twitter and now X. Like I'm in the middle of like all those developing. So like you go from one social media to the next, like it was hard to kind of catch up with all of them. So like you master one and the next one comes out. And then it's like, all right, do I just go and try to master all of these or I focus on one? So I've tried to be present on as many as I can. But what I found is I have to focus on the ones that are going to be attractive to my industry because at the end of the day, it's still a business, right? So like, yeah, of course, I have family and I admire my family more than anything. And you have to have a work-life balance. And I understand that more than anything now. I didn't always understand that because I didn't always have a family, right? But social media is very important nowadays because everybody's on their phones. Everybody uses social media. So as much as I try to neglect it and try to not use it, it's always there no matter what. So like it's like the people that say, all right, I'm gonna stop using social media for a week or 2 months, or I'm gonna just take a break. I'm just like, man, I would never be able to because that's how I run my business. Like right now, I actively reach out to licensed insurance agents that are a part of other organizations. And I like to say that I'm sending them a life raft to save them from a bad situation to bring them to a good situation. So if it wasn't for Instagram, I wouldn't have a platform to be able to reach out to them, to be able to let them know that, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. You're not stuck. Just like me, it is a little bit of adversity, but I got you. Trust me. You can come with me. Look, here's real numbers. Don't just look at this graphic. Let me show you under the hood. Let me show you the reality behind this. And it's a good way to build a relationship, right? Because when you think about like just running ads, and I've learned this the hard way because I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on different gurus and spending money on master classes and people running my social media. And it really hasn't gotten me anywhere because it wasn't really me behind it. It was somebody else. So it wasn't my personality. And I think people can see that. Like when you have somebody else trying to run your social media and it's not you, they just realize like, all right, well, that's not really what something Josh would say. So we could tell it's not him, moving on to the next one. But when it's me and it's who they know that I am and I'm genuine, they can get behind it. So I made a lot of mistakes on social media too. But going back to social media, it's relationship building versus just ads. Because when you have an ad, you have a ad runs a post, and then somebody sees something that may attract them. They fill out a form, and then you have like a cold call, hoping that maybe there's some sort of interest there. But on social media like Instagram with the DM, you can actually have a conversation and you can warm up, get to know somebody. And you either mesh or you don't, you either vibe or you don't. And it's a good way to just give encouragement. Like there's nothing wrong with praising somebody for having success. And that drives me crazy more than anything. Like people, for whatever reason, don't like to see other people winning. But the ones that do like to see other people winning, I can stand behind that all day long. Like I like to see other people having success. That drives me. I like other successful people. I like to surround myself by other successful people. So I like to use social media as a platform to be able to surround myself around those other successful people. And I like to follow that and then feed my brain with positivity. And I get to pick and choose who I want to listen to.
Yeah. Like you said, social media it's not the best. I'm kind of with you on that, where it's like, I don't like social media very much, which is funny because I'm a content creator. But it's like in today's world, it is a necessity essentially for business and for money. It's like, yeah, you can make money without social media, but you're kind of behind the times and it's going to take a lot longer. And you almost have to be on social media, especially with the company, like say that you are running, where it is a nationwide thing. It needs to be out there to reach nationwide. And it is a lot harder to do that if you're not on social media, because the thing about social media is it's free advertising. Like you can sign in, make an Instagram account and post videos, and people from California to New York can see it. They're all going to see it. If you get good enough at social media, everybody sees it. So it's free advertising. And once you start to get kind of a name for yourself and you get bigger, especially when you're building your social media around your brand and what you do, you get recognition and more people are willing to work with you and want to work with you just because they see, well, he's obviously knows what he's doing here. He's got X amount of followers, so might as well work with him in this space as well. So social media is a secret weapon to businesses. Well, not really secret anymore, but it is a weapon for businesses and definitely a necessity. I've got two more questions for you before I let you go. So first one is, what is the most amount of money you've made in a single year?
The most amount of money I made in a single year?
Yes, sir.
$760,000.
Wow. And did you do that working for somebody, or did you do that working for yourself?
I've always been working for myself. I've never, well, I mean, I guess you could say I worked for somebody when I was younger. Like my first job I worked at McDonald's, right? But like that was like young. I was like 16 years old.
You made 760,000 at McDonald's.
Yeah, I've always like once I got into insurance, you're always going to be your own boss. Now it's just you are an independent contractor, right? But you have like mentors and then you have hierarchies. But for the most part, like I always work for myself. So I did that working for myself. But you have mentorship and you have people that you can look up to that can help you there. But it's my business.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that was a misunderstanding from my angle of the insurance game then. So my second question is, if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody that is going to start following their passion and really just go after it, what would your advice be?
Yeah, just like most people probably would say, just do it. Like, and don't worry about what other people have to say. I kind of made the mistake early on by caring too much what others thought, and that actually held me back a little bit early on. Now, I did have success early on just because I was crazy, I think, because like I would literally work Monday through Sunday from 8 a.m. to like 11, 12 o'clock p.m. And I was just a grinder. Like I just did whatever. I sacrificed holidays, birthdays, weddings, funerals. Like I just did everything I needed to do to work just to make it happen, right? But I was in a position where I tried to be somebody that I wasn't yet, even though I knew that I would get there. And I tried to show off more than I had. And if I could go back and save all that money I spent on bar tabs and all the money at the club and all that money just throwing money away on designer shit that doesn't matter, I feel that I could have even more than I have now, because that kind of stuff is irrelevant, especially I look back now, being married and having a daughter, what did that get me? It didn't really get me anywhere because, spending a couple $1,000s at a bar versus putting in, a pool and buying $100,000 car, it's a whole different level, right? But I thought that was cool when really it was just dumb. So what I would tell somebody is if you're planning to follow your dreams, go follow it, but be responsible and focus on your dreams, not worry about what other people are doing and trying to fit in. Because if you do dream it, you can believe it. But more importantly, if your dream happens to come true, you'll be able to live that lifestyle down the road way bigger than you ever imagined. Because that's what happened to me. It just took me a little bit longer because I started blowing the money way earlier, where if I would have saved it, I didn't buy my first house until I was 32 years old. So, I'm 34 now. I could have probably I built my first house at 32, but that's because my first house I built a 4,000 square foot house because I just went big or nothing versus just going right for a house right away versus just renting and blowing money, So I didn't make the right decisions early on because I was worried about what people thought versus being responsible and running my life as a smart businessman versus like a flashy businessman.
All right. Well, I love it, Josh. That's great.
Yeah.
I appreciate you talking to me, taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me. So I had no idea what this was going to entail, but I love talking to anybody, as you can tell. So what basically happens from here?
Well, I'll go edit this and I'll send you a link early and then it'll be posted more than likely this Friday. But I'll send you a link to the edited version where you can watch early, probably tonight or tomorrow morning. And so that'll be it. If you could, in Instagram DMs, if you could send me just like a headshot of yourself to use for the thumbnail, that'd be perfect also. I appreciate that. So
I got you. I'll send it over.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I'll have to stay in contact.
Yeah, buddy. Sounds good.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too, man. Bye.